Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you're the kind of person who's always stepping up, constantly accommodating everyone else, and just trying to keep the peace, well, you might be totally exhausting yourself for literally no reason. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating dilemma: why being nice doesn't always pay off. We're going to explore the critical relationship between agreeableness, self-respect, and personal boundaries, and we'll break down exactly why our default societal settings might actually be working against us. I want you to really genuinely ask yourself right now, is being nice actually paying off for you? I mean, we're all taught from day one that being perpetually pleasant is the ultimate virtue, right? But when you constantly default to just accommodating others, are you actually hitting your own goals, or are you just ending up completely drained and frankly overlooked? Think about the last time you agreed to take on an extra project at work when you were already swamped, just to avoid ruffling feathers. Hold on to that feeling as we move forward, because we really need to deconstruct this default setting. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're calling this first section the nice trap. So here's a pretty harsh reality to face right out of the gate. Being nice doesn't always pay off. I know, it sounds a bit cynical, but hear me out. You pour so much energy into making things smooth for everyone else, assuming the universe, or maybe just your boss or your friends, will eventually reward all that effort. But constantly bending over backward like that, it usually just leaves you in a deficit. Imagine that one coworker who consistently takes credit for the team's work, while all the nice people stay totally quiet just to keep the peace. Those quiet folks aren't getting promoted, they're just getting burned out. If you've been feeling the heavy fatigue of over-accommodating, trust me, your exhaustion is completely justified. So, why doesn't it pay off? If being nice is supposedly the golden rule, why does it backfire so often? Well, it really comes down to hidden costs. See, when you're perpetually nice at the total expense of your own needs, you aren't actually building mutual respect. What you're really doing is signaling that your time, your energy, and your preferences are, well, highly negotiable. You basically set a precedent where people just expect you to yield. And the cost isn't just external, it's an internal cost too. It slowly chips away at your own sense of agency. That brings us to our next big concept, the reality of self-respect. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it acts as the ultimate antidote to that nice trap. We're defining self-respect here as the reality of valuing your own standing and your own needs above mere agreeableness. It's basically a deliberate hierarchy of your values. It means that when push comes to shove, your own personal integrity literally has to rank higher than simply keeping the peace. You can absolutely still get a kind person for sure, but just not at the cost of your own foundational needs. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between these two mindsets. The nice trap, that's really a passive strategy. It's a place where your main goal is grabbing external validation and just avoiding conflict at all costs. Maintaining self-respect, on the other hand, is an active pursuit. It requires you to consciously engage and prioritize your internal integrity over your external comfort. Basically, being nice often just happens by default. Self-respect requires deliberate, conscious action. To truly adopt this new mindset, you kind of have to acknowledge three core realities. First up, the limits of being nice. Let's be real, being agreeable simply will not protect you from people who are more than willing to take advantage of your accommodating nature. Second is the absolute necessity of self-respect. This has to become your personal protective armor. And third, finding that perfect personal balance where you can absolutely be collaborative and supportive without ever sacrificing that foundational armor we just talked about. All right, moving on to our third and final section, the power of setting boundaries. So the crucial point here is that if self-respect is this precious resource we're trying to protect, boundaries are the fence we build right around it. They are the actionable limits you set to actively maintain that self-respect. Listen, boundaries aren't these giant brick walls designed out of malice to keep people away. They are just clear, communicative lines that tell the world exactly where you end and they begin. Without boundaries, self-respect is honestly just a nice concept, but with boundaries, it becomes a lived reality. Putting this into practice really comes down to three incredibly actionable steps. Step one, recognize when nice isn't paying off. You know that drained, totally unappreciated feeling that hits you on the commute home? Yeah, pay attention to that. Step two, prioritize your self-respect. Consciously decide that, hey, my needs actually matter in this specific moment. And step three, set the boundary. Communicate your limit clearly and firmly. It's a super simple logical flow that takes all the guesswork out of navigating those really tough interpersonal dynamics. Let's move on and see how this builds, because a reality without boundaries is honestly just chaotic. It's exhausting, and it's driven entirely by other people's priorities, which again is the whole trap of just being nice. But a reality with boundaries, wow, it's structured, it's sustainable, and it puts you firmly in the driver's seat of your own life. Setting limits doesn't make you a bad person, it actively transforms a counterproductive dynamic into one of profound personal empowerment. This entire framework we've been unpacking matters so much because it literally unlocks your personal agency. You really don't have to choose between being a good person and being a respected person. By exploring your reality and mapping out your own boundaries, you ensure that your kindness is a deliberate choice, not just some automatic compulsion. You can absolutely be generous with your time and energy, but only because you actually want to, not because you feel like you have to. So, what is your next move going to be? Are you going to continue to just be nice on default, crossing your fingers and hoping it magically pays off one day? Or will you actively choose self-respect, draw your lines in the sand, and completely take control of your reality? The choice is absolutely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously challenge you to start testing your own boundaries today. You've got this.